Dan Illman, Mike Beer taking a look at race number 7 at Oaklawn Park on Rebel Stakes Saturday. It's a really good betting race, I think. The Carousel is for fillies and mares going 3/4 of a mile. Well, take a look at this field. $150,000 is the purse. It's a big field. It's led by a couple of graded stakes winners, the 5 Ujiri, the 7 Pretty Birdie, but they both have very similar running styles.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to hook up on the pace in here, Dan. Certainly, it feels like the 7, has really no choice but to go. All of her good races are when she's able to clear to the early lead. So I'm assuming she'll come out of there with speed. Ujiri's a fast horse, though. Of the 2 favorites, Dan, I kind of much prefer the 5, but I won't be surprised if Pretty Birdie's able to shake free in here. And if she does, I guess she could be pretty dangerous.
Timeform US believes the Pretty Birdie has slightly more speed than Ujiri. We see from our Timeform US pace projector, it's pretty close. And then at number 9, I'm the Boss of Me, who is a pace-pressing, stakes-placed runner last time out in the American Beauty. She has speed as well. So I think there is a very good chance the Timeform US is right, and this pace is fast.
I can see it being fast. I don't know if I buy the notion that the number 9 is as fast as the 7 or the 5. I guess we'll see, Dan. If she's on an all-out scent here and wants to lead, I guess she'll be up there. I think the 2 inside horses are faster.
If the pace is fast, the number 1, Hazy Command, can make up a lot of late ground, as she has in her last 2 races for trainer Tom Amoss. We're going to watch her most recent start. This is a high-level allowance race on January the 14th. Now, this pace didn't seem very fast on paper, but the speeds did come back. Hazy Command, though, once she gets to the outside and in the clear and mid-stretch, she mows them down.
Yeah, this is a good performance from this filly. 2 in a row, actually, over this track, Dan, where she just sat decent enough trips from off the pace, but really fired through the stretch in both of those stretches. I really like the form that she's in right now. I like that the fact that this race could really set up for her. And while I realize that she probably has to improve to win here, I just like the way she's coming into this race, and she's going to be a price.
She's hit the board in her last 11 sprints. Does the inside post position worry you, or with her running style, she's just going to be far back anyway?
Yeah, no, I don't care. I'm actually fine with her breaking from the rail here. She get to save a little bit of ground here. Maybe if she can work her way forward up the turn like she did last time without losing that much ground, she could be in a perfect spot when this field hits the stretch.
Coming in from Southern California and trying stakes company for the first time is the number 2 American Lily, who just beat first-level allowance runners at Santa Anita, going 3/4 of a mile last month. We watch American Lily, and she set off the pace in this race, ranged up on the turn to get into contention, and then just grinds it out down the final 3/16 to win. Her buyers are a bit light, but she's so lightly raced that I think you can project improvement. It's all about how she handles this step up in class. This race came up pretty tough.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair enough point that she's, maybe a little slow on the way in here, Dan, but she is very lightly raced. That win that we just watched there, I mean, it wasn't the most impressive thing in the world, but she got the job done with a little bit of a different running style. She also bobbled a little bit at the start of that race. I don't know. I can't say that I love her in here, but she's 20-1 on the morning line. I don't think she's in, totally over her head.
A horse that's 30-1 on the morning line with some things looking to look at is the 3, Take Charge Lorin for Mr. Lucas. This is going to be her second start off of a lengthy layoff. She's going to cut back to 7 furlongs after an okay return. She finished behind a horse that came back to earn a 77 buyer when running second in a first-level allowance race, and maybe cutting back in distance will allow her to relax. To me, she's more middle distance speed. I think she'll rate turning back against these horses.
Yeah, I can't see her getting anywhere near the front in this race. She's never sprinted in her life, Dan. They're going to try it for the first time here against stakes horses. And at the end of the day, there just really aren't any races on her card that make her super competitive in here. She's going to have to almost be a totally different horse sprinting from off the pace.
Portilla's the number 4, 20-1 on the mile. Florent Giroux takes them out. Stakes placed 2 starts back at the fairgrounds. She finished behind Hazy Command last time out in the video we showed. She was 3rd that day. She's pretty consistent, but she's got to take that step forward.
Yeah, that's how I looked at her too. I mean, I suppose there's a way to look at her and just say, this pace is going to be fast. She could get the right kind of trip here and make a run at it, and she'll be a very fair price if all those things happen. And I won't disagree with that too much. I don't really see the race that she's run either, though, that makes her, a strong contender in this race, Dan. And at the end of the day, she got a good trip last time, and she was no match for Hazy Command.
Ujiri, the number 5, is the morning line favorite. No surprise considering the success she's had over this surface. Now, she put her good speed to good use in 2-turn races last year, winning the Grade 3 Fantasy, and she was the pace setter in the Kentucky Oaks. Now, after the Kentucky Oaks, she went to the sidelines for a long time, but she did get a prep race earlier this meet. This is an allowance race over muddy going, and Ujiri showed no rust. There was high speed from the start, sub 22 opening quarter, and she kept on going. I think even though she's sort of made her name in longer distance races, this is what she wants to do. She's looked good in both sprints.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Dan. This is the first time that she sprinted since her debut, and she was really impressive winning her debut at Churchill Downs. Didn't have a real problem making the early lead in that race on a wet track, Dan, but the horse that wound up second to her, Hot and Sultry, pressed her around the turn. Ujiri easily handled it through the stretch. That horse came back to win the American Beauty. So it's not like she's a total pushover. I don't know. To me, this horse is way the horse to beat here.
The veteran number 6, Dealing Justice, is back for another year of racing. She went through the auction ring late last year for $135,000, is now with Riley Martin. This one came up for second last time out behind Hazy Command. First time for these connections. She might get the right race flow, Mike. I know she's shown a lot of speed in the past, but it seemed like they were willing to take her back a bit last time.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I mean, she has form in her past, especially in New York, where they allowed her to use her speed. She was effective that way, but she's never been a horse who needed the lead to run her best race. More than anything else, I just feel like she's a little bit underrated. I realize these races are probably a little tough for her. She ran fine last time, but she was only second best to Hazy Command. I'm just a fan of hers. She's going to be a price in this race, and I do think she can get the right kind of trip.
The red-hot Norm Cassie sends out the 7, Pretty Birdie, who was a graded stakes winner at Saratoga as a 2-year-old and really appreciates the Oaklawn surface. Both of her wins at Oaklawn have come in stakes races, including this race, her final start of 2022, where she showed her usual early speed. She went right to the front. She beat a couple of next-out winners. And when she gets to the lead and is able to relax a bit, she can do this, keep on going in the stretch. The question is, does she get the breather on Saturday?
Yeah, to me, that's a huge question. You're right that both of her wins here at Oaklawn have come in stakes races. They've also both come in races where she got absolutely loose on the lead without having to go fast. I don't know if that's going to happen in here, Dan. I suppose it's possible. I'll be surprised, though, if somebody doesn't come after this horse early. And ultimately, as one of the favorites in here, I'm just not a fan. I know that she can look good at times, but I feel like when she gets challenged, that she gives it up pretty readily. I'm not a fan of this horse.
Number 8 is Novel Squall, who finished 6th, well beaten by Pretty Birdie last time out. That race was at 5.5 furlongs. She is the kind of mare that has always been sort of a notch below stakes caliber. She's stakes placed in her career. She might just need the right setup and for other things to go her way.
Yeah, she's got a race or two on the go back that I guess would give her a real chance in here, Dan. And she is a horse who can run from off the pace. I would just be a little bit worried about her most recent start. I realized that it was off of a layoff in a race that didn't set up for her, but she didn't pick her feet up in there.
The number 9, I'm the Boss of Me, was claimed for $20,000 at the end of 2021 and has certainly made good for these connections. Here's her most recent start, the American Beauty. This on the heels of a 4th place finish behind Pretty Birdie. She showed her good positional speed in this race. She has the lead and a big look at it at about the 8th pole, and she's going to finish a fine second. 88 Beyer speed figure, nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, she was okay in here. I'll give her credit for improving since they claimed her for $50,000 back in December of 2021. Her best form has come for this trainer, but at the end of the day, Dan, she really had no excuse in here. She ran fine in that race, but if she was good enough, she certainly could have won 2-back. She was no match for Pretty Birdie after sitting up close to the pace. I think this is a tough race for her.
The number 10, Mercy Warren, is 8-1 on the morning line. John Velasquez takes the mount. She's coming into this race off a giant 94 Beyer speed figure victory where she ran off and hid by 16 lengths. Where'd the race come from? That race was on a wet track, but she had previously raced on wet tracks and hadn't shown a particular affinity for it. Was it just a situation where she was getting a massive class relief, faced a bad field, and got the right setup? There wasn't a lot of pace, and she just jumped on the leaders on the turn? Or is she getting good?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the real question that you're going to have to, make a decision about if you want to bet her in this race. I think you'll get a fair price if you want to give her a chance to back that performance up. the more I looked at it, Dan, the more I couldn't quite get there. I just kind of feel like it was the clash relief that made all the difference. You go through that field in Formulator, it was just a very, very weak field, and she buried them. Her prior races do not make her a contender in here.
When you play this race with your DRF Bets account, of course, you get free Formulator past performances. Click on the date. You'll be able to get the chart. Click on the next race function. You'll see that 4 of these horses that she beat already have come back. None have hit the board. Best buyer of the 4, only a 69. So she does have a lot to prove. It's a very exciting last race. The 11 is Samurai Charm, and this is a horse who really was put in some wonderful spots by trainer Peter Miller. Made a lot of money at Zia Park. They got her back to Santa Anita. She ran last time out against a good field in the graded Santa Monica, going 7/8 of a mile. Well, watch Samurai Charm turn into the stretch. She showed good speed in this race, but the top 2 finishers are just better than she is. A Fun to Dream, Awake at Midnight, 2 of the better older filly and mare dirt sprinters in Southern California.
Yeah, I won't hold it against her that she's no match for them. I agree with you that they're just better than she is. And, she just can't really stick with them in the last furlong. It's not a great performance, Dan. I guess you could say that there's a little bit of clash relief for her in this spot. I also was really disappointed in her race 2 back in the Las Flores when they moved her up. I didn't really see her excuse that day. And she was just no match for a relatively weak field as the favorite. I don't know. I could go either way on her, I guess, because I know there's a race in her that makes her competitive. But she's 3-1 on the morning line, and I would never take that.
Big Saturday afternoon at Oaklawn Park. Of course, we have the Rebel for 3-year-olds. We've got the Honeybee for 3-year-old fillies, and we've got this good betting race, the Carousel. Let's take a look at our top picks. And while the favorites in here have legitimate credentials, there's a chance the race shape may work against them. Hazy Command might get the right race flow, Mike, from the back of the pack. And boy, she's looked good in her last 2 since getting back with Amos.
That's why I took her, Dan. She's a great price on the line. I like her last 2 races a lot, and I feel like this race could set up for her. I think the 5 is the horse to beat. Maybe she'll get hooked up on the pace in here, Dan. I do not like the other speed horses in the race. I'm going to try at 1-5.
We'll see if Mercy Warren's the real deal. There might be a little bit of rain in the forecast at Oaklawn on Saturday. She sure loved it last time out. Not sure where that race came from. She's going to have to prove it against better horses, and I can't take much less than her morning line. 8-1. 1-5-6-2 for Mike, 10-11-7-5 for me. Good race. The Carousel on Rebel Saturday at Oaklawn. Best of luck.